The world is changing, power is shifting. The rise of the East is reshaping the global landscape. For decades, the West, led by the United States, has dominated global affairs. But a new bloc of countries is emerging, challenging the established order. This bloc, known as BRICS, represents a potential shift in global power dynamics. BRICS is an acronym for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. These 5 nations are home to over 40% of the world's population and account for a significant portion of global GDP. Their collective economic and political clout is undeniable. The BRICS nations are united by a common goal: to create a more multipolar world order, one where power is more evenly distributed. They are seeking to reform global institutions like the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, which they believe are outdated and biased towards the West. But the rise of BRICS is not merely about economics or institutional reform. It is also about challenging the West's ideological dominance. BRICS nations are increasingly assertive on the global stage, promoting their own values and interests. The emergence of BRICS challenges the established world order. The West faces a more assertive global South. BRICS seeks a more equitable, multipolar system. They demand a greater voice in global affairs. This challenge is evident in the economic sphere. BRICS economies are rapidly growing and interconnected. They aim to reduce reliance on the US dollar. The rise of BRICS is not without challenges. The group is diverse with unique histories and systems. Despite differences, BRICS seeks a multipolar world. Their influence shapes a new global landscape. The term BRIC was first coined in 2001 by Jim O'Neill, then chairman of asset management at Goldman Sachs. O'Neill identified Brazil, Russia, India, and China as the 4 major emerging economies that would drive global growth in the 21st century. What began as an investment thesis quickly gained political traction. In 2009, the leaders of the BRIC nations held their first summit, formalizing their cooperation. South Africa joined the group in 2010, expanding the acronym to BRICS. The BRICS nations share a common history of colonialism and underdevelopment. They see themselves as representing the aspirations of the global South, seeking to redress historical imbalances and create a more just and equitable world order. The group's initial focus was on economic cooperation, promoting trade and investment among its members. However, over time, BRICS has expanded its agenda to include political and security issues, reflecting its growing global influence. BRICS is challenging the US dollar's dominance. The US dollar has long reigned supreme, giving the US unparalleled power. BRICS nations are questioning this dominance. They seek to reduce reliance on the US dollar, exploring alternatives. This move is driven by several factors. One is to reduce vulnerability to US policies. They have seen the US use the dollar to impose sanctions. They believe a multipolar world needs a diversified monetary system. De-dollarization could reshape the global financial system. It could diminish US clout, ushering in a new era of multipolarity. Section 5. The Ukraine conflict. A turning point? The ongoing conflict in Ukraine has emerged as a defining moment for BRICS and its relationship with the West. The war has exposed deep divisions and accelerated a trend towards a multipolar world order. BRICS nations have refrained from condemning Russia, opting for a nuanced stance. They call for peace but criticize the West's sanctions as counterproductive. The conflict highlights BRICS' growing assertiveness and challenge to the West's dominance. Section 6. BRICS expansion. A larger table, a louder voice. The BRICS bloc is not static. It's actively seeking to expand its membership, inviting other countries that share its vision of a multipolar world. This expansion is seen as a way to further amplify the bloc's voice on the global stage. Several countries have joined BRICS, including UAE, Iran, Egypt, and many have expressed interest. Each potential member brings its own unique strengths and perspectives to the table, further diversifying the bloc's composition. The inclusion of new members could significantly enhance BRICS' economic and political clout. It would expand the bloc's geographical reach, encompassing a larger share of the world's population and resources. However, expansion also presents challenges. Integrating new members with diverse interests and priorities could prove complex. Maintaining unity and coherence within an enlarged bloc will require careful diplomacy and a shared commitment to the group's founding principles. The anti-West sentiment rhetoric or reality. Some observers argue that the BRICS bloc is driven by an inherently anti-West sentiment. They point to the group's rhetoric, which often criticizes Western dominance and hypocrisy, as evidence of a deeper animosity. However, it is important to distinguish between legitimate critiques of Western policies and a fundamental opposition to the West itself. The BRICS nations are not seeking to replace Western dominance with their own hegemony. Instead, they are advocating for a more inclusive and equitable global order, where power is more evenly distributed. The BRICS nations' criticisms of the West are often rooted in their own historical experiences of colonialism and exploitation. They argue that the current global order shaped by Western powers perpetuates these historical injustices and disadvantages developing countries. While the BRICS nations may harbor legitimate grievances against the West, it is inaccurate to characterize their movement as inherently anti-West. Their primary objective is not to dismantle the West, but rather to reform the global order in a way that benefits all nations. The West responds: concern, contempt, or curiosity. The West's reaction to the rise of BRICS has been mixed. Some view the bloc with suspicion and concern, seeing it as a threat to Western interests and the established world order. Others are more receptive, acknowledging the need for a more inclusive and multipolar system. The United States in particular has expressed concerns about BRICS' growing influence, viewing it as a potential challenge to its global leadership. The US has also criticized BRICS' economic policies, arguing that they disadvantage American businesses and workers. However, other Western nations, particularly in Europe, have adopted a more pragmatic approach. They recognize the economic opportunities presented by the BRICS nations and are seeking to engage with the bloc constructively. The West's response to BRICS will likely continue to evolve as the bloc gains influence. The key question is whether the West will choose to engage with BRICS as a partner or view it as a rival. The answer to this question will have profound implications for the future of the global order. The future of BRICS, a force for change or a passing storm. The future of BRICS is uncertain. Will it live up to its potential as a force for change in the global order, or will it succumb to internal divisions and external pressures? The answer likely lies somewhere in between. BRICS faces significant challenges, including internal divisions, economic disparities among its members, and the West's attempts to undermine its unity. However, BRICS also possesses considerable strengths. Its members represent a significant portion of the world's population and economic output. Its commitment to a multipolar world resonates with many countries in the global South. The success of BRICS will depend on its ability to overcome its internal challenges and present a united front to the world. It will also need to navigate the complex geopolitical landscape carefully, balancing its relationships with the West and other emerging powers. Conclusion: navigating a multipolar world. The rise of BRICS is a symptom of a broader transformation in the global order. We are witnessing a shift away from a unipolar world dominated by the West, towards a more multipolar system where power is more diffuse. This new world order presents both opportunities and challenges. It offers the potential for greater cooperation and a more equitable distribution of power. However, it also carries the risk of increased competition, instability, and conflict. Navigating this new world order will require skillful diplomacy, a willingness to compromise, and a recognition of the interconnectedness of our world. The rise of BRICS is a reminder that the global landscape is changing, and the West can no longer take its dominance for granted.